Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما يا رب العالمين. Okay. So inshallah we're going to continue now our beautiful stories of the Quran. So we're going to start our Musa alayhi salam series, which is going to span maybe about a week or so. We'll see, inshallah. I want to cover one of the most important parts. We're going to start with Surah Al-A'raf. So, and the reason why we want to do it like this is because the stories in the Quran come in very different places, right? And you probably are thinking like, okay, I heard the story like 15,000 times, right? And it's admittedly so. A Muslim probably heard this a lot, and if they know a little bit of Arabic, they're like, oh, the story came up again and again and again, right? But those stories never come up in the same exact way. And that's something that we kind of have to come to terms with, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we're talking about Allah, right, and talking about these stories, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has all history, okay? Just as a brief mention, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has all history, right? It's all in front of him, all the time, right? Because he created humans and he's there. So he has the first person narrative all the time, okay? Why is that important to keep in mind here? Is because when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells a story, he can tell you literally all the facts, all the details in a sequential manner, right? He can give you the birth, then childhood, then adulthood, then death, right? He can give you the order, but that's not the goal here, okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bigger goals in mind than just giving you a history lesson. And so that's what we want to remember. Allah's bird's eye view of everything will give us something that we could not attain just from a history book. That's what the Quran does. And that's why when you read the story in multiple places in the Quran, they're never the same. Okay? They're never the same. If you are thinking they're the same because, oh, I already know this history, then yeah, because history is going to be the same no matter where you read it, right? You can read it in the Quran, you can read it in the Bible, the history would just generally be the same, okay? But the point of the Quranic story is what? To identify certain things that human beings need to be aware of, okay? Again, it's all about our human condition. Allah Ta'ala wants to change us. And by changing us, He gives us stories that we can relate to. So I want everyone to remember that. So it's not like, for example, just a simple example, then we'll get going, inshallah. It's like trees, right? If I tell everyone to go outside and look at the trees, you'd say they're all the same, right? If I asked you if they have any differences, you'd be like, all the trees are the same. But if I were to ask a botanist or someone who studies trees for a living, or that's their study area of study, they say, no, these trees are completely different, right? They say the bark is different, the leaves are different, right? Upon closer examination, these trees are not the same at all, okay? So you and I as human beings, we like order, we like things to just be organized, it's sequential, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not speak like a human, okay? Because human being, if it was human speech, it would make sense, right? But the Quran is not a human book. That's why Allah doesn't take any semblance of what humans would do. So he gives you stories in different ways each time, and each one is motivating and each one is captivating, right? And it's all nonfiction, delivered in a very emotional way to move something within us. That's what we want to remember here. It's going to move something within us, right? So now A'raf, the Surah Al-A'raf, and the best way to understand these things is that actually we have to go to the surah and understand the themes of the surah. And I spoke about this when I spoke about the man who was given signs from Allah. Is that Surah Al-A'raf has two big themes: recognition, ma'rifah, and insaniya, humanity, right? It tells us to recognize what it means to be a human being, okay? So Allah Ta'ala in Surah Al-A'raf, it's one of the longest surahs in the Quran. It's really long. It's like 180 something ayat, I think, right? It's huge, okay? And it actually covers from beginning of history of human beings all the way to the end of history. It's an amazing work, mashallah. If you're looking at it from like the first human in the beginning to like Qiyamah at the end, Allah Ta'ala covers everything, mashallah. It's a very beautiful way Allah Ta'ala described it, okay? And in that surah, Allah Ta'ala covers like all these humans, and Allah Ta'ala shows us what happens to every single society, every single community. They end up just falling and breaking and getting destroyed, and they get the miracles of Allah, and then they reject the miracles. And this is just the same process over and over and over again, okay? So I want everyone to remember, humans, what we are supposed to know as human beings, what we are supposed to accept as human beings, is that we were sent by Allah. We're supposed to be humble, okay? We are supposed to be humble. I know it's like kind of hard for people to be humble, but that's what we were designed to be, because we were made out of the dirt, right? And so we're humble like the earth is humble. We're fragile and weak, right? We are fragile and weak. We're not the first humans here, nor are we the last ones here. We don't have a right to go and say that we own the earth, or we pretend to own it when because we are walking on it now, so therefore we have complete charge of it. That's not the way human beings were, and we should not pretend like we are the only ones here, whereas there were humans before us who thought the same exact thing, and guaranteed there'll be humans after us who think the same exact thing too. Okay, and we are definitely not godly, right? But and so that's something that we often have a fault in. Sometimes human beings think that they're like gods, right? They Allahumma salli Muhammad, they don't want to accept their humanity, their weakness, right? And that's something that I found that in this COVID-19, this coronavirus situations, that Allah Ta'ala really exposed our humanity. He showed how humble we are, like how fragile and weak we are, right? And he just showed us like we are going to die. So, we remember that we're going to go and some other human's going to come on this earth, right? We are walking on this earth as if we owned it all, but we really don't own it all, okay? So he shows us that we, human beings are not supposed to be godly, but we can be goodly. We can become good people. And that's the goal of humanity, that we become good. So that way when we came to this world, we acquired these good qualities and then we return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a nutshell, okay? So this is really important, and Allah Ta'ala reminds us of this by sending us signs. He'll send sign after sign to kind of connect us back to Him so that we don't lose track. We don't lose our sight of the goal. Because again, everyone wants to be comfortable here. Everyone wants to take the bridge and say, this is my house. But the bridge was not designed to take as a house. The bridge was designed to cross. We have to prepare for the hereafter and get ready for the time when we return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Now, who broke all these rules of humanity? Who decided not to pretend he was a human at all? This is one man called Fir'aun. Okay? Fir'aun. He is the person in the Quranic narrative. If you're talking about the biggest bad guy, he is the bad guy. He is the villain. Okay? In terms of what the Quran speaks about. I mean, probably Abu Lahab is probably a higher level than him, but Fir'aun is definitely like either number 2 or number 1, depending on how you look at it. Okay. So now in terms of how Allah Ta'ala does things, how He deals with human beings, is that He shows you in all the stories, He gives you one story after another story after another story, and He shows you how that thing which you were expecting not to do anything against you, like that object or that item or that creation that you're like, it's such a harmless creation, although Allah Ta'ala uses that against the person and then He destroys them like that. So for example, like Ad and the wind, right? They're like, the wind, you can't do anything, and then the wind ends up destroying them, right? Or they expected a blessing from it and they got actually punishment from it, right? So what we find is, very interestingly, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will choose that guy, He will choose that person, He will choose that individual who will be the opposite, or the one that you did not expect. You did not expect that he was the one who's going to defeat the villain, okay? And so this is what happens at the time of Fir'aun, because the guy that he thought that there was the one that they thought that could never do anything, okay, was this boy named Musa. Okay, they didn't expect him to be anything. They didn't expect him to do anything. They didn't expect anything from this guy, okay, and which we'll come up to inshallah in a second. So without further ado, let's get started, okay? I apologize for the little bit of a long introduction, because we're going to have a couple of series of Musa alayhi salam, so we have to at least get an idea about how Musa and Fir'aun are connected to each other, okay? So Fir'aun is propped up as a villain, and Musa alayhi salam is propped up as the main character, okay? And Musa alayhi salam is the man who no one expected him to come back and revolutionize or change the society, but he does, and he's completely opposite of what Fir'aun is, okay? أولم يهدني الذين يرثون الأرض من بعدها أن لو نشاء وصبناهم بذنوبهم ونتبع على قلوبهم فهم لا يسمعون. Allah Ta'ala said, have all these events still not taught a lesson to those who inherit the land after its former inhabitants, that if we so willed, we could afflict for them their sins, but we sealed their hearts so they did not listen. So Allah Ta'ala says briefly in the ayat right before, He says, have these events not taught them any lessons? Have they not learned anything? Have they not realized that human beings were here before? And prior to them, these humans also had a chance to get Allah Ta'ala's pleasure, but they failed. And so then Allah Ta'ala wiped them off the face of the earth. Didn't they realize these things? We're not that special like we're making it out to be, okay? Tilkan Qura, Allah Ta'ala says, how many towns? Those are the towns. We gave you these stories from their amazing, important events. And we gave them messengers with proofs. And they came and they still didn't believe because they rejected it from beforehand, okay? Meaning what? Allah Ta'ala will seal the hearts of the disbelievers. They rejected these signs from beforehand because they don't have any desire to change. Allah Ta'ala is highlighting this point. If you want to remember this point now, inshallah, this is the point you want to keep for this story we're going to have. A lack of desire to change is the big theme here that we're going to talk about with Fir'aun and the story of the magicians, okay? People who don't want to change, Okay, people who don't want to change, it doesn't matter which miracle you bring, whatever sign you bring, whatever prophet you bring. You could bring the Quran, you could bring Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you could bring every single miracle in all of existence. But if a person doesn't want to change, you're more likely to move a mountain than you are to move a human being. Okay, you can move a mountain easier than a human being, than moving a human being. And Allah will change us once we decide to change ourselves. Okay. وما وجدنا لأكثر من عهد وإن وجدنا لهم لفاسقين ثم بعثنا من بعد موسى بآياتنا إلى فرعون وملئه فظلموا بها فانظر كيف كان عاقبة المفسدين. Allah said, thereafter we sent Musa with our signs to Fir'aun and his chiefs, but they did injustice to them. So consider the fate of those who cause corruption in the world. Okay, those who cause corruption. Allah says, number one is that people cause injustice to Allah's signs, and number two is it is the end of all corrupters. Okay, so the Allahumma salli Muhammad, the okay every single person who causes corruption in the world, Allah will take them out in a certain way. Okay, and this is something Allah is trying to show us throughout the surah, and you'll notice it inshallah that will relate it to our time, because we're talking about coronavirus anyways, right? You'll notice certain things Allah is doing in this time too, and don't look at what's around you, look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look at what Allah is doing through this virus, how He's crippling all these societies that they thought they were so powerful. Then Allah humbles everyone. Okay. Now look at the way Allah manifests His power, how strong He is. That something so insignificant, a virus that weighs, you can't even weigh it properly on a scale, but it's able to take down all the communities in the world. Okay. So Allah says about Musa alayhi salam, وَقَالَ مُوسَى يَا فِرْعَوْنُ إِنِّي رَسُولٌ مِّن رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. And Musa alayhi salam said, O Fir'aun, I am a messenger to all of the worlds, from the Lord of the worlds. I'm sorry, a messenger from the Lord of the worlds. Musa alayhi salam said he's a messenger from the Lord of all worlds. Okay. Now, if you're thinking about where is Musa alayhi salam coming from, he's come from a very long journey. He hasn't been back in Egypt for quite some time. It's been at least 10 something years, right? Because he got married off to that sheikh's daughter, and he's been going up to the, he went up to the mountain. All this stuff has happened, right? He killed that guy, and he completely fled from the town. He has not come back for such a long time. Okay, he's gonna come back to his quote unquote father. His father is Fir'aun. He goes to his dad and says, "Hey dad, O Fir'aun, I am a messenger from the Lord of the worlds." Okay, now you're understanding that this is coming out of nowhere, straight up left field. They haven't seen this boy for such a long time. Now he has a full beard. He has like a turban on. He looks like he's like, he has a staff. He's walking in almost like he's walked through the desert for for days on end. He has his brother with him, Harun. They're walking into the palace of Fir'aun. Like this entire situation is happening, and Fir'aun's looking at him. The chiefs are looking at him like, what? Like, who is this guy? Like, isn't he baby Musa? Wasn't he the little boy Musa that was in the palace? Like, and that's what's happening here. So Musa comes out strong. He doesn't pull punches at all. Okay, and he insulted Fir'aun, completely insulted Fir'aun. He said, "I'm a messenger of the Lord of the worlds, your Lord and my Lord." When he says Lord of the worlds, he's talking about everyone's Lord. Okay, and so it wasn't like a direct insult, but he had to make things clear. Okay, and this is the thing about Musa alayhi salam, he's very direct. He's going to talk directly to what you needed to hear at the time. So he actually comes to Fir'aun and he just says the truth, but it hits Fir'aun right in his chest. It hits him in his heart, because Fir'aun thinks he's the God of everyone. He's the Lord of everyone. And so this was a da'wah. And you can see that the chieftains of the area of Fir'aun's court, they're looking at Musa, they're looking at Fir'aun, and they're wondering, like, did this boy just come into Fir'aun's court and just say that there's another God greater than Fir'aun? Right? And they're like looking at him and they're like wondering, like, what's wrong with this kid? He looks like he's possessed. He's gone all crazy. He has a turban on now. He went on 40 days Jamaat. And after Jamaat, he came back like all this, like Ajib, So they're looking at him and they're like, in their head, they're like, aren't you scared? Like, shouldn't you be terrified? And that's the feeling that you and I should feel too if you were watching the scene in front of us. That this man, Musa, is coming in without any weaponry, no arms, no guards, no swords, no shields, nothing, coming straight into the palace of Fir'aun and straight up calling the Fir'aun in front of him that you are a fake and my Lord is your Lord, and he deserves worship. You don't deserve any worship, right? He's coming real hard. So he goes and says, حَقِيقٌ أَلَّا أَقُولَ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْحَقِّ قَدْ جِئْتُكُمْ بِبَيِّنَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ فَأَرْسِلْ مَعِيَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ. He says it is the truth. It is super haq. The word haqiq, right? It's like super haq. He says that it is the truth of the matter, that I cannot say upon Allah except the truth.
He said, look, if you're thinking I came in without any fear whatsoever, it's because I can't say anything except the truth on Allah. And I came with you with proofs from your Lord. So send with me Bani Israel. Okay? He says, I will always speak the truth. I will stick to my principles. And that's how people will change. When people don't budge on their Islam and they're willing to make the sacrifice for their Islam, no way around it. They don't find any other corners. They don't try to cut corners. They give their deen the way it's supposed to be given. Then Allah will produce hidayah for the community. He'll produce guidance for the community. Okay? So his people need to move from the land of shirk, which is something we'll talk about later, inshallah. But he wanted Bani Israel to leave that land. And we'll get to it, inshallah, when the time comes. Okay? So he makes his mission statement very clear to everyone. His statement is very clear. So now Fir'aun hears this, and there's an entire discussion, inshallah, which we'll get to tomorrow, between Musa and Fir'aun. But today, inshallah, we want to go through the magicians. قال إن كنت جئت بآية فأت بها إن كنت من الصادقين. It says, Fir'aun goes and says, all right, if you have come with a sign, then bring forth your sign. If you're really speaking the truth here, let's hear your sign. Give it up. Okay? So Musa alayhi salam hears this, and he's like, okay, Allah Ta'ala told me to give my sign to Fir'aun and give my sign to the chiefs of the community. So the miracle will come. The miracle will come. And this is something of a theme in this section, is that the miracle will come, but it's not what you wanted. Okay? But the miracle will come in the best form. When you're asking for a miracle from Allah, it will come in the best form that could ever possibly come in, because it's from Allah. And if Allah is gonna give it, it's gonna come with full wisdom, full hikmah, full ilm, everything. The most top-notch miracle you could ever imagine. So Musa alayhi salam says, all right, guidance is in this miracle, so then he takes it out. But the key ingredient to accept this miracle is that people need to be humble. Okay? If people are not humble, if they don't feel any humility, then no matter what miracle you give, it's not going to benefit them. Okay? So how do we let's look at the miracles that Musa brought. Okay? He threw his staff, and then it became a clear serpent. Okay? It became a clear serpent. Okay? Why is the word mubin brought at the end rather than a movie by, mashallah? It's the Thu'ban mubin. It is a clear serpent because of the fact that it's not a joke. Okay? It's a real serpent. This is something that's going to come up later on. Just pay attention to the fact that it's a real serpent. And he took out his hand, right? He put his hand under his arm. He put his right hand under his left arm, and then he took it out, okay? And then when he took it out, it became shining, right? It became luminous for those who are looking, right? So people often listen to these two miracles and they wonder, they're like, okay, I can get the snake one. The snake one kind of makes sense, but I don't really get the hand one. What's the hand one about? So the hand one is this, actually, is that he brought a sun down to the earth, right? So when he took out his hand, it became brighter than the sun, basically. When they're looking at it, it was so bright, it illuminated the room, to the point that the scholars of tafsir have written that it was the brightest thing between the heavens and the earth. He literally brought a sun down to the earth, okay? And so why is that important for the Egyptians? Because the sun god Ra, which they thought to be like the quote-unquote greatest lord, because he was the one that created everything, basically. So they consider this Ra to be the one most worthy of worship. Okay, and very interestingly, the pharaoh is the representative of Ra, if not. And sometimes they thought he was actually the son of the god Ra. Okay, so the pharaoh was either the son of God or he was considered the Ra on the earth, right? The representative of Ra on the earth. Okay, so when Musa is doing this, it's really important. All right, so okay, if that's the hand, if that's the hand thing. Let's look at the snake, right? The Wajdat, right? I'm probably butchering this pronunciation, but like it was the protector of Lower Egypt, right? You probably saw this god with like the snake's head, right? In Egyptian gods, whatever. So the snake head god was a protector of Lower Egypt, right? And where would she be? She would actually coil herself around the head of the pharaoh to protect him. You probably saw those fancy hats that the pharaoh wears, right? And you can notice there was a snake on it, okay? And so they thought this fake snake on their head would be like the symbol of the god, and it would protect them. Okay, so now what Musa is doing with these two miracles is really important here. He brings down the sun, showing that God you thought was in the heavens, he is nothing. Look at him, he's in my hand. Okay, I have full reign over him, full control over him, because Allah Ta'ala gives the control, right? So he is showing that this God you thought which was in the heavens, I brought him down to earth. Okay, and then the second thing is what? That prior to this was what? That they had a fake snake on their heads to protect them, to shield them. Now he's brought out a real snake. Even the God you thought of protection, he's showing that this God is being, this creation is being used for my protection. Okay, so he's showing them that these are creations. None of these things are objects of worship. Okay, that's the most important point here. That Musa alayhi salam is showing them that the sun and the snake are not things that you worship, are not things that you're supposed to worship. Rather, these are creations put for the benefit of mankind. Okay, not the other way around. So he brought this in front of them. And I'm telling you, in terms of a miracle, this is a really profound miracle, right? He's literally taken down two of the greatest gods in one shot. And he's showing them that these two things are not objects of worship. In terms of a miracle, this is top notch. This is 100%. And you would have thought that the Muslim story at the end is what? That we always tell the story, like I said before. It's like, oh, they must have accepted Islam. They must have accepted Islam. Because like that was such an amazing miracle that it makes so much sense for them to accept it. But no one is buying it. Absolutely no one is buying it in the community. So then he finds, قال الملأ من قوم فرعون إن هذا لساحر عليم. They look at him, they're like, wow, okay, that was really fancy. Oh, Fir'aun, they go to Fir'aun and say, hey, Fir'aun, did you, is it time for the jester to come in? Is it time for our entertainment of the day? That the magician will come in and then he'll do some like Chris Angel type of stuff and then make us feel like really happy or whatever? Is this the time right now? So Fir'aun, they're having a laugh of this. They're saying, wow, he's a really good magician. Inna hada lasahirun alim. This is a really good magician here. You brought in a really great guy, Fir'aun. Okay? And then so the issue here is that if we're talking about a miracle, again, it was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It has hidayah, guidance built into it, if people want to listen to it. But here's the problem. The miracle is never the issue. It is the people that are the issue here. The people are the problem. They're not willing to accept it. And if they're not willing to accept it, you can bring 1,000 suns. You can bring 1,000 miracles. Bring 1,000 snakes. But if they're not willing to accept it, they're not willing to accept it. You can't budge a human being, right? So then they go and say, hey, this magician that you brought, his only job is what? That he wants to expel you from your land. So what do you suggest? Okay. So in other words, they decided to say that this religious stuff that he's showing in front of everyone, okay, this religious stuff that they're showing in front of everyone, is Muhammad. They said that when they're looking at him, they're seeing him as a person who's faking all this stuff. Okay, the religious garb that he's wearing, the topi, the turban, the jubba, whatever, the staff, everything is looking so pious and religious. They're saying he's actually doing it only for worldly gain. He only wants to take Egypt from you all. That's his entire goal here. Okay, so the prophets, by the way, have always expressed that they never wanted any desire of any reward or fame. They didn't have this idea that they wanted anything of dunya. They were completely against that, right? They want people to turn away from dunya and go towards Allah, right? That was their goal. So prophets made it very clear, and I just want to make this as a side point, that we should be careful too, that sometimes we do things for other people. We should not be doing for other people. We should be doing them only for Allah. I know, mashallah, we want the big money and we want the Bitcoin to go up to like, whatever. And we want all this money to come, whatever. But the goal is what? Only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not for anyone else. Be very careful. Intentions can get corrupted very easily. Okay? And so what did Fir'aun's people accuse Musa alayhi salam of? They say his intention is really wicked. He just wants to take Egypt from us. That's all his goal is. But I want everyone to remember, okay, that this is all just propaganda, right? Have you ever heard of a magician ever taking over society? Have you ever heard of a magician becoming a president? I never heard Chris Angel or any of these guys ever taking over anything, right? It's all fake stuff they're doing. And so they invented a story and they made it up to explain that this miracle is not a real miracle, which is what happens often, is that when Muslims, even, in certain times where in history, for example, like the Uthman al-Ghazi, the way he was able to get the entire, all these countries together, or the fact of Badr, right? Badr or Uhud or whatever, or Khandaq, Khaybar, name any Prophet's battles. Basically, the non-Muslim perspective in the history books is like, oh yeah, because of these circumstances, everything kind of worked out, okay? And so that's how they won. They would never accept that it was a miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that angels came down, whatever. They'll just say that, oh, because of these external circumstances, because they never want to accept the miracle, so they have to explain it away. That's what they do, and that's what they do with propaganda. The goal of propaganda is what? To understand that some real story is actually really fake, okay? Or just to show that this person's actually not real at all. That was their goal here. So they get away with it. قَالُوا أَرْجِهْ وَأَخَاهُ. They say that, leave him alone. Leave his brother alone. Because if we're going to make a joke out of him, we got to make a joke out of him, We got to show everyone what kind of person he really is. وَأَرْسِلْ فِي الْمَدَائِنِ حَاشِرِينَ. Send your men out to collect. Go out and collect everyone from all the big cities. And who are they supposed to collect here? يَأْتُوكَ بِكُلِّ سَاحِرٍ عَلِيمٍ. They should bring every expert sorcerer, bring every learned magician, bring them now to our land, into the mainland of Egypt, and in this area we'll defeat Musa alayhi salam. That's their goal here. So this is a huge project to destroy Islam. This is a huge project. If we're talking about the stories in the Quran which show how people try to plot against Islam, Fir'aun is probably number one in the entire scheme of trying to destroy Islam. He's literally trying to finish Musa alayhi salam by making him a joke, right? So they have this entire plan. What is their plan? To call everyone on this nice day, the best day, the day of gathering, the festivities, right? They bring Musa alayhi salam out, they bring the magicians out, and they told everyone to gather, watch this competition between Musa and the magicians, okay? One of them is on the side of Fir'aun, the other one is on the side of his fake god or whatever, right? So they're trying to embarrass Musa alayhi salam as much as they can, and then they're going to kill him, right? That's the joke, right? That's the funny thing at the end, the ha-ha moment, is that, okay, after we embarrass him, we're going to kill him too. This project is to destroy Islam, okay? So now they gathered all the experts in the region, okay? And I want everyone to remember that, is that the magicians are experts. These are the best people in their fields. So Fir'aun makes sure to gather all these people together to show that the experts of the field would take care of this person who is also a quote-unquote expert, right? He is a magician too, so magicians should be able to take care of him, okay? Connect that to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's time, where the poets were brought to fight against the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam because they said he's just a poet. He's just another person making poetry, so we can bring poets too, okay? And so that's what happens in every single prophet and in their times. وَجَاءَ السَّحَرَةُ فِرْعَوْنَ قَالُوا إِنَّ لَنَا لَأَجْرًا إِن كُنَّا نَحْنُ الْغَالِبِينَ. Okay? So now the magicians come to Fir'aun, and they say to Fir'aun that there must be a reward for us if we are victorious, right? Like, there must be something that we're going to gain from this. If we're going to win, we should get something, okay? So they tell Fir'aun this, and Fir'aun goes and tells them, and Fir'aun explains to them, قَالَ نَعَمْ. He said, yes, of course. وَإِنَّكُمْ لَمِنَ الْمُقَرَّبِينَ. He said that in terms of a reward, there's no greater reward that I can give you than making you close to me. That the greatest reward that I can bestow upon you is that you become close to me. Okay? So قَالُوا يَا Musa. So now they're overjoyed, right? They have their support from Fir'aun, and so they head out to battle Musa alayhi salam. قَالُوا يَا Musa إِمَّا أَن تُلْقِيَ وَإِمَّا أَن نَكُونَ نَحْنُ الْمُلْقِينَ. So I want everyone to just, mashallah, this is we got to do like a character bio of these magicians, okay? We notice basically two subtle points. They're looking for a ajr, right? They're looking for a reward, right? They're trying to look for some type of gain, right? If we're going to submit to Fir'aun, we should gain something from it, okay? So Fir'aun promised them to become close. Keep that in mind. So number one is they're looking for some gain. The second thing that the magicians have, or the magicians that they have, is what? Is this quality of being very mannered, well-mannered, okay? They said, "Oh Musa," and Allah Ta'ala quotes this quite a couple of times throughout the Quran. It's not the first time Allah Ta'ala uses this expression. "Oh Musa, will you throw or will we throw?" Okay? Can you imagine that? Like, in terms of a competition, you're willing to just throw yourself down. You want, like, in terms of football, right? Sometimes it's better to get the head, sometimes it's better to get the tails, right? You just want to, if you go first, if you go second, right? You want the option, right? For them to give Musa alayhi salam the option is really respectful. That's what we're getting from them. Okay, would you throw or we throw? They have a level of respect. Okay, there are manners here. There are good manners here. To the point that Ibn Kathir, rahimahullah ta'ala, he brings a narration which says that the magicians actually came dressed as Musa alayhi salam out of mocking him. Okay, so this might have been out of mocking, but they showed a nice level of respect. Okay? And these two things are really important here, because Allah Ta'ala appreciates, He loves when people show respect to their prophets. Okay, so they dressed like Musa and they spoke well to Musa. And Allah Ta'ala loved those two things. Okay, there's a level of respect here. So now قَالَ أَلْقُوا. So Musa alayhi salam says, you guys all throw. فَلَمَّا أَلْقَوْا سَحَرُوا أَعْيُنَ النَّاسِ وَاسْتَرْهَبُوهُمْ وَجَاءُوا بِسِحْرٍ عَظِيمٍ. So the magicians hear this, and they go and say, all right, if he wants us to throw, we throw. So they threw down their staffs, they threw down their ropes, and then they performed their magic, whatever spells, whatever casting they had. And so they were able to bewitch or bewilder or seduce the people's eyes. And so they were able to put a magic over their eyes, وَاسْتَرْهَبُوهُمْ, and they were able to frighten them. So what's happening is what? وَجَاءُوا بِسِحْرٍ عَظِيمٍ, Allah Ta'ala says. They came with a tremendous magic, a great sorcery, something you never find in any Harry Potter book, right? The snakes were slithering everywhere. When people are looking, if we were there again, put yourself on outside of the stage. You're watching them on the stage. Then what's happening is this, is that the snakes are coming down from the stage, and we were sitting in the audience and we're thinking, my God, the snake is gonna bite me. They look so real. The snakes look so real. The people in the audience are running away. They're fleeing. They're having this commotion and panic because there's so many snakes, there's so many magicians, right? So they threw down their staffs, they threw down their ropes, and everyone is panicking right now. This is a commotion. So they brought a terrifying show. It was extremely scary. But what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? Saharu ayunan nas. If you are looking through the eyes of Musa alayhi salam, okay, he's seeing the snakes, but they're not snakes, right? Because it's just magic. It's just a magic show. It's okay, yeah, okay. Chris Angel thinks like he's floating, whatever. Obviously, with strings or whatever like that. Some of these magicians are a bit more like well versed because they have jinns helping them, but still jinns, you know. Like if you read Falaq and Nas, like one sheikh did very famously when one magician was like doing a card trick in front of him, and so the sheikh thought like, okay, let me just play with this guy a little bit. So what did the sheikh do? He read Falaq and he read Surah Falaq in one hand, he read Surah Nas in another one, and he held on his thumb. So he read Falaq in one hand, and then he blew on it with Falaq. And the left hand he blew Surah Nas on it, and he grabbed his thumb with his left hand too, right? So now he grabbed his right hand, he grabbed his left hand, he grabbed the thumbs of his right hand and his left hand, and he just sat there. And then when the magician came to his table to do the same magic trick, he wasn't able to do it, right? And so the sheikh was explaining in his talk, he said that because of the jinn that was helping him, when I read Falaq and Nas, the jinn dipped, he ran away, so he wasn't able to do anything. It's all fake, right? It's all like smokes and whatever, right? These are just all it's just a show for people, okay? So أوحينا Musa أن ألقي عصاك. So Musa alayhi salam was told to throw down your staff. فإذا هي تلقف ما يأفكون. Then all of a sudden, when Musa alayhi salam threw down his staff, it swallowed everything that they lied about. Everything they lied. Allah calls it an ifk. He calls it a lie because none of it was real. All of it was fake. Although people were running around, it was completely fake. So what happens is what? When Musa alayhi salam throws down his staff, it becomes a real snake, okay? Now the magicians are laughing. They're having a good time because they're like, okay, it's just another snake like ours. Then what happens is this snake actually starts to go around and eat the other snakes, okay? Now, if you're not planning this with the magicians from beforehand, you can't just make a trick on your own, right? Like you know when the magician's being cut in half, right? You needed like the person that's helping him, the assistant on stage is helping him, right? Cut, right? So they're part of the act, right? The people in the audience, some of them are also part of it too. You know, sometimes you pay an audience member to like get the right card or to pick the person, right? There are people who are paid to help you out here. So the magicians are looking and they're like, we're not working with him. How is his snake eating our snakes? Okay, and then that's one thing that's bothering them. The second thing is what? That the ropes and the staffs are disappearing. They're actually going inside the snake, and they can't find them anymore. And they're like, what's happening here? It's not like we were doing before. So none of the things that they were doing was real. And so Musa's real snake ate their ropes and staffs, which is crazy here. They never saw something actually like this ever happening in their lives. فَوَقَعَ الْحَقِّ وَبَطَلَ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. So now when the people were watching, okay, so now let's go back to the eyes of the people. They're seeing the snakes slither around, and then Musa's huge snake is coming and eating all of the little snakes. And so now the people are like surprised. They're like, wow, Musa's snake is so strong. And so they all come back to the stage, and they're all coming back to watch what's happening at the end. And Musa's snake very well devours every single rope and staff that the magicians had. And the magicians are wondering, where the heck did our ropes and staffs and everything go? Right? So the haqq has come down. And everything that they did became completely nullified. Everything they did became completely nullified. So the magicians were ultimately defeated here. Okay? Everything they had done had become completely useless. All the magic that they used to prepare. Because again, they're coming in front of Fir'aun. They made sure to get top-notch, the best magic that they could bring, the best sorcery that they knew. They made sure to bring this in front of Fir'aun to show everyone. And at this moment, everything was completely wasted. Now, at one moment in the scene, everyone was going crazy. Now, in the second part of the scene, everything is back to normal. Everything is relaxed. And Musa's staff is a snake and is coming back to the form of a staff again. So now Allah Ta'ala's might can shut down everything. That's what we're learning here. Allah is showing us from the example of Musa alayhi salam, when Allah Ta'ala's power comes down, everything will be shut down. When we're seeing the virus in the world, everything's shut down because of it. Allah Ta'ala's power is so strong, He can do that. He can create a barrier between people of 6 feet without Him ever coming down to this earth. Right? People are so scared of now the same hands that we used to use to take out money from the ATMs. Now the money we're worried about, is it contaminated? The ATMs are worried about, is it contaminated? The stuff we buy from the store, is it contaminated or not? Everything that we used to enjoy and live with, Allah's power comes down and everything shuts down. Everything shuts down. That's what we're learning here. And I remember this and I remind myself that in reality, we are the viruses that cause the world to get sick. And I feel like, subhanAllah, Allah gave the world a time to breathe and get healthy again, because we were poisoning the earth. And that's what Fir'aun is. He's another poison, another disease in the society. Okay, they lost the battle of the snakes. But what happens is this: Musa alayhi salam's snake was living and breathing. Okay, they saw this in front of themselves. They recognized something else. They saw that, look, we are experts in our field. There's no way that Musa alayhi salam could become something better than us, because we did the best sorcery, and we know that he hasn't been taught. You know, we own the sorcery schools. We own Hogwarts, right? That's our field. We have these universities. We have these places. How can Musa come? We never even seen him at the hand of a magician, right? We never seen him do any magic. Where did this guy come from? And then they know that the snake was real, it wasn't fake. And so they know that there's no one better than themselves. This is the realization they're having in their minds. And they saw in front of them was not tricks or magic, it actually was real. And so they told themselves, look, we're magicians. We can play with people's eyes, but he is doing something real. He's actually playing with reality here. And we can't bend reality like he could. So he actually produced, no magician could ever produce real things unless it was a miracle. So they came to the realization that it was a miracle from God. So they had lost the battle of the minds and hearts as well. So then what happens is this: فَأُغْلِبُوا هُنَالِكَ وَانْقَلَبُوا صَاغِرِينَ. They were defeated at that moment. وَانْقَلَبُوا صَاغِرِينَ. And they changed into people who were small. I'm translating slightly the way it comes in the Quran, exactly the way it comes. They became people who are small. Because again, there's nothing wrong with the miracle that Allah Ta'ala gives. The miracle is top notch. It doesn't work with Fir'aun and his people because they were arrogant, but it completely worked with the magicians because they had knowledge and were humble. How are they humble again? They respectfully, they asked Musa, would you like to throw first, or would we like to throw, right? And then second thing is, again, from Ibn Kathir's narration, they dressed like Musa alayhi salam. So at this moment, they completely changed. One qalabu saghirin, they changed into realizing how small they were. Okay, that's what Allah does miracles do for us. That's what the world does for us. That's what Allah does signs do for us. When you look at the plants coming in and out of the ground every single year, we should remind ourselves that one day we will die. You know, I mean, it's a hard thing to come to terms with, but we have to remind ourselves we are really tiny. I mean, we think we're so big, but we're just a dot in this earth. And if we were compared to the solar system, compared to the galaxies, compared to the universe, we're like nothing at all. Yet we think we're so big. Okay, we have to remember how small we are. And so that's what happened here. They changed into understanding how small they really were. So then what happens is what? They said that this thing that Musa brought was the truth. So they fell into prostration. They fell into sajda. They went straight into sujood. And at this moment, you know, and it's mentioned about Musa alayhi salam, inshallah we'll mention it at the end actually. قَالُوا آمَنَّا بِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. From sajda they say we believe in the Lord of the worlds, right? And at this moment Fir'aun is happy. Fir'aun's like, oh, ha ha ha, they're praising me. Because again, he thought he was like the god Ra and the earth, whatever. So he's like, oh, they're praising me because I'm the Lord of the worlds. But then, oh no, Rabbi Musa wa Harun. He said the Lord of Musa and Harun. They made it very clear, we're not worshiping you, Fir'aun. So Fir'aun becomes really infuriated, okay? At this moment, in front of everyone, the entire society, he's completely embarrassed. He's made a fool out of. Fir'aun says to them, you believed in him before I gave you permission. You don't have any right to do it. I'm God. I have full authority to tell you what to do. I decide what you eat. I decide how you dress. I decide everything. Okay? That's what people do in these non-Muslim societies. They push us and force us to choose the way that they live. You have to eat our haram food. You have to dance our music. You have to dress like us. And when you don't do what we want, we get upset. Okay? إِنَّ هَذَا الْمَكْرُ مَكَرْتُمُوهُ فِي الْمَدِينَةِ لِتُخْرِجُوا مِنْهَا أَهْلَهَا فَسَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ. He said that surely this is a plot that you all made in Medina. He's like, you and Musa, all you guys worked together, made this huge plan. So this is again the propaganda that they use to when things show as a miracle in front of their very eyes, they make sure to show everyone that it's just another trick that they're making. Okay? And then the final trick that Fir'aun has is that if you don't stop this, I will cut off your arms, I'll cut off your legs, and I will put them on opposite sides. Then I will crucify all of you. If you're thinking that you're all mighty and powerful and respectful, I'll make you look so embarrassed. I'll cut off your arm and leg, and I'll put you on a cross. Let's see how respectful and honored you look now. You know, how great is your Lord? That if you're calling your Lord so great, is he going to protect you now? So resorting to violence is the sign that you have nothing intelligent left to say. Fir'aun resorted to violence because why? Because he has nothing else to say. There's nothing else to do. The only thing you can do is now what? Just say that I'm going to punish you and kill you. Okay? Now this is a threat, a strong threat. They would have to forfeit their lives, right? If they decide to say we don't want to do this or we do want to do this, right? Now they're risking their life here. It's no longer a joke. You know, subhanAllah, it was just a little fun Islam we were doing, right? Okay, I pray, I don't pray, you know, I do, I don't do, right? We just felt like it's not a big deal, right? We don't have a, you know, in our Islam in America, we never have anyone forcing Islam or forcing us to convert to their religion, right? Not like the Uyghur Muslims, right? Or like the Burmese, right? Those are serious problems. I feel like Americans, again, we're just people who are so lazy. That's all our problem is. There's nothing else. We have nothing else to worry about. We're just lazy people, okay? When life is actually in jeopardy now, that's a serious matter. So now the Burmese, the Uyghur Muslims, you know, the women are being taken away from the men. They're being married off to Chinese men instead. The children are being taken away. Those are serious problems. May Allah give hidayah and give tawfiq and save them, inshallah ta'ala. Make dua for them, okay? But look at these magicians. قَالُوا آمَنْ إِنَّا إِلَىٰ رَبِّنَا مُنْقَلِبُونَ. They said, look, we're only going back to Allah. We're only going back to Allah. We always have to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They remind everyone, look, we're all changing every day, okay? And the final change will be once we enter our graves. We're all going to go in our qabr, and then we're going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They said, look, Fir'aun, do you really think we're worried about a crucifixion right now? We just saw a miracle in front of our eyes. We have literally nothing else to worry about. Because now we know we're going back to Allah, and that is the biggest thing that we have to worry about. And so people are worried about popularity contests, the makeup, the fame, oh, this girl's not going to like me because if I wear my hijab, it's going to look very weird in class or whatever, right? Why are you worried about such little things? Those are small problems. Think about the big problem. In the grave, snakes and scorpions and fire will come out. And I might get punished if I don't read or don't do my du'as, don't do my ibadah. I might not enter Jannah. These are bigger problems. That people need to think about their eternal life, not just a temporary one. So they mentioned they were completely transformed. After receiving the miracle, their lives were never the same anymore. Okay? So they tell Musa, they tell Fir'aun, what does it matter? We don't even care. We really don't care right now. Because it doesn't matter if you decide if we're successful or not. Allah Ta'ala, if He decides we're successful, is more than enough for us. Okay? So we don't need your closeness. Remember, they asked for closeness before. They said we don't need it. We just want to be close to Allah. And then the final thing that they said, look, oh Fir'aun, you only want to punish us because we found the truth. Okay? So the tactics they used turned against them. In front of everyone, the magicians are saying to the people and to Fir'aun, oh Fir'aun, you only wanted, Muhammad, you only want to punish us because we found the truth here. Okay? You're upset that you lost. That's what they're telling Fir'aun, they're telling the people. This is going to, of course, affect their minds, affect their hearts, and understand that the magicians that Fir'aun brought were actually turned against them, which is what happens to people who go against Islam, is that Allah takes whatever things they use against Islam and puts it against them. Okay? So Fir'aun's first public loss is here. Okay? And then they make this dua, and I just want to finish with this dua, inshallah. I want everyone to remember this dua. رَبَّنَا أَفْرِغْ عَلَيْنَا صَبْرًا وَتَوَفَّنَا مُسْلِمِينَ. Oh Allah, pour patience upon us and take us as Muslims. Okay? When people fear a loss of life, or they fear that their iman is in jeopardy in certain places, make this dua. This is the dua of the magicians. That they said, oh Allah, pour patience upon us and take us as Muslims. And they made this dua, and Allah kept them as Muslims. They're the first martyrs of Musa alayhi salam's da'wah, mashallah. Okay? So the last thing, inshallah, just Fir'aun and so Musa alayhi salam, after this entire discussion, he asked Allah and says, Ya Allah, the magicians came against me and they wanted to fight me. Why did you give them da'wah? Why did you give them hidayah? And Allah says, oh Musa, they were so respectful to you. They dressed like you. Because they dressed like you, I just had so much love for them, I gave them hidayah. Subhanallah. Just dressing like the Prophet will give a certain level of hidayah as well. That's part one, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah give us all tawfiq and hidayah. Allow us to appreciate and respect our miracle and take the miracle for what it is, inshallah. We ask Allah for the rest of this Ramadan that we'll be able to take this miracle seriously and worship Allah like He deserves to be worshipped, inshallah. Wa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.